Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the NBA Front Office Show. It's Friday. You know what that means.
Front Office Friday! It's not Arbor Day, but let's plant some trees edition.
Let's plant some trees edition. Come on, Kawhi. Let's go.
So let me tell you something right off the bat. When I saw it was a tree planting company or how it was, I was like, oh, so this is some new term for shell company that I just had never heard before. It's a tree company. And then I was like, oh, I guess
based out of the Caymans.
Form of like environmental green initiatives, and apparently they did actually plant a few trees. I don't know. What a weird thing.
What a crazy story. We'll talk, of course, about the whole Kawhi situation. We'll talk about Cam Thomas's decision, betting on himself a bit there with that qualifying offer. We'll talk about everything else going on around.
Josh Giddey news?
Josh Giddey news. Yeah, a little bit there in terms of what the Bulls are offering. Keith, I still, obviously we've got some big stuff to get into today, but I still look at that Josh Giddey situation and I'm like, they can't be that far off. Like they've got to get something done. I get the Cam Thomas thing. Josh Giddey, I just don't see a way they don't get a deal done. It's too close.
Yeah, Cam Thomas, the dog wants involved today. He's all upset. Our neighbors are putting a one of those, I don't know what other people call them, but we call them a bird cage, like around the pool.
Yeah.
I'm in their backyard. So like they've got all this noise and workmen around, and they're like the dogs are all out of sorts. So you'll probably hear them bark and get a little crazy today. To the RFA point, yeah, I think Cam Thomas, they were miles and miles apart. Him and the Nets, totally get why he signed the QO. I think we're close to that with maybe Quentin Grimes and Jonathan Kuminga. Giddey, so if people haven't seen it, the Bulls' initial offer was $80 million over 4 years, so $20 million a year. Bobby Marks reported that the Bulls have come up to $88 million, so $22 million a year. Giddey reportedly wanted somewhat, you've seen between 25 and 30. 30's been kind of where it's been like sticking. So to me, you're like split the difference at 25 million and you're there, right? Like we're 25, 26 million and we're where we need to be. So I think that one's close enough. Something will get done there. Maybe that takes more of the Jalen Green approach of, hey, we do 3 years and a player option, and it just gets a little, it gives everybody a little bit there. But yeah, it's going to be that one. I think is close. I think the other two, I've been saying it for a couple of weeks. Once the clock gets into September and we have less than a month left, we're in QO territory, and I think we're really close now on Grimes and Kuminga.
I've been saying it like for Kuminga in particular. I mean, I guess for Grimes as well. You might as well wait until the last day of the month. Just see, because I mean, the qualifying offer today is the same as the qualifying offer a few weeks from now. You might as well wait and see if the other side blinks, and if not, then pick up that qualifying offer, and there you go. I think one thing that the Cam Thomas situation has taught us. And by the way, there's a discussion that did Cam Thomas want 30 million? Did he maybe want upward of 40 million? Clearly, Cam Thomas seems himself in a way that I believe the rest of the NBA does not, and that's okay. If Cam Thomas can take this season and prove that he is what he believes that he is, clearly, then great. Then he's going to get paid next summer, and everything's going to work out just fine for him. It is betting on himself. But again, the offer that was reportedly out there from the Nets was like a 1 year, $9.5 million deal, 2-year deal at just over $14-ish million, something along that. And he winds up signing for 6, and he'll be able to hit true free agency next year. We're seeing teams put in, and we're seeing the same thing with Jonathan Kuminga's situation. Teams add in, hey, okay, if we do a 2-year deal, it's a team option on the second year. You got to waive the no trade clause that comes with it. All these things that teams are trying to work the margins here to try to make sure that these are tradable contracts and not negative values. And where I'm trying to get here, Keith, is that we're seeing teams say now, and I don't think this was always the case in the past, we're seeing teams say we would rather risk losing the player than sign the player to a contract that we believe will most likely be negative value. And I don't know that we've always been there. I think there have been points in the past.
Especially, sorry to interrupt, but especially with guys coming off their rookie contract. Like those ones have been almost always like, just get it done. Unless like you're like, this guy can't play and we're good to see him go.
Yeah. And now in this current environment, teams are very cautious about negative value contracts. They're very cautious about any contract that goes past a year. I mean, we're seeing some teams that are, and some of that is, when you look at who's potentially available in free agency coming up in the next couple of years. But teams are being very, very careful with how they spend their money. And this is I don't know if I want to say side effect, but an effect of the collective bargaining agreement, the way these teams are behaving right now. And again, that's led to more, in this case now, qualifying offers becoming a more realistic option for players because teams are not budging as much and teams are trying to put more team control into these contracts than I think we've seen them try to negotiate in the past.
I don't have a whole lot to add to that. All I will add there is let's keep this all in mind too. Right now, right, we've seen Banchero, Holmgren, Smith, and a couple other guys, Jalen Williams, all lock in on their deals right now that are doing their extensions. But let's see if there's a handful of other guys, players who maybe we think are, they're good, but maybe their team's like, I don't know that I want to give him 20, 30, approaching $40 million a year. And we may see a handful of other guys go into their walk year, play out the year, and then hit restricted free agency. And that could get a little messy. Now, to be a bit more cautious because next summer there could be up to 10 teams with meaningful cap space. And if that happens, then you're in a spot where, all right, now all of a sudden now we may be forced to do the offer sheet game. And teams don't really want to have be forced into it. They'd rather just get it done on their own terms. It just doesn't set a good precedent with the player to say, hey, go sign an offer sheet. And then we'll figure it out after that. It kind of doesn't send a real message of we really want you, right? It's more like, let's see what everybody else is willing to pay you. So it's going to be interesting. Market factors, the collective bargaining agreement, as well as, like you said, some of these guys maybe not being in line with what the rest of the league thinks of them as players, that those are all at play here. So I just like that we're probably the only NBA podcast that didn't open with Kawhi Leonard extended conversation. So good for us for doing that.
Despite the best efforts of the chat, and we will get into that. In fact, we'll get to that right now, but I just want to throw this in real quick. Is the ball moving around during the intro an homage to the old DVDs, Trevor and Keith? Kind of, not really. Like, yes, in a roundabout way, it is really an homage to The Office and the infamous cold open where they're watching the DVD on the screen and Michael Scott is doing his presentation and they all celebrate when it finally goes into the corner. And Michael, of course, thinks they are cheering for him and the presentation.
Then they'll get up and walk out.
They just walk out. He's like, okay, all right,
good meeting.
Come over ahead. Let's get
yeah.
Oh,
I love the part too where Pam's like, I saw it. Did you tell you I didn't see it? I saw it. I swear I saw it.
Oh,
it's so funny. Good. And that was like the magic of The Office. Because those are the things that would, like, when I was sitting in Disney meetings, like, those were like real things. We used to have one place I worked. There was this odd stair where the stairs and the carpet were the exact same color. So like it was like sitting there in this one conference room at a window, and this one stair wasn't exactly the same height as all the other stairs, and like people would trip. So like a crew of us would be like, all right, how many people we think we're going to see stumble on that stair? We had a weekly staff meeting in that office. Yeah, pretty much. It was like, how many today? With that, let's go here just real quick before because we are going to spend obviously time on the Kawhi stuff. Just with the RFAs, and we can close it out with this. Mike asked, why do you think the players union didn't push harder for a revised RFA process last negotiations? Just not at the top of the priority list. Seems like time for a change with them getting squeezed. Yeah, here's the challenge in any kind of contract negotiation, especially like CBA negotiations. You have to go in with, here's the things we really want. And then you have to go in with, here's what we're willing to give up to get them. And the NBA had their priorities. The NBPA, on behalf of the players, had their priorities. And their priorities, this was not a priority to get changed this last time. So I know that seems like it's really that simple, but that really is the answer. Some of their priorities were protecting the revenue split, as well as getting new investment vehicles for players. That's not a cheap joke for Kawhi here, but like it's like they really wanted it to be players to be able to get involved in more things, including investing in gaming and gambling and things like that. So, and apparently planting trees. Or I guess he didn't invest, so that's not really fair. He just got
no, he was getting. So, you know what? I mean, like they should turn this into some type of Christmas promotion, right? Some type of Christmas that Kawhi delivers your Christmas trees or something like that, and does a community outreach event or
Kawhi claws.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I mean, you could just start planting.
He's already the claw.
Millions of trees. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
there you go. The claws. It works.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure. This is maybe the meanest comment we've ever gotten.
The sad sack guy on Toby? What?
Man, people are rough on me sometimes, and that's the meanest thing I think everybody's ever said.
I'm gonna go to Costa Rica and break my neck on a zip line, I guess.
Well, we had Jay say Trevor's like Jim, very chill. So we'll take it. Yeah. All right. We when am I gonna plant some tree? I don't know. I have planted trees. I used to work in landscaping. That was my summer job for years. I did all kinds of landscaping, and I actually liked it. I like this is very weird. Bryce, our mutual friend Bryce Simon, who does a lot of draft stuff with us around that draft time. We both share a love of cutting the grass. I like cutting the grass because it is a task. It's immediate gratification. Like you see the result and it's done, and then you move on. So there's a little late summer hanging on to the shreds of summer here conversation.
All right, let's rip the Band-Aid off and let's get into this whole Kawhi situation. So obviously it's a mess. But what I want to talk about to start, because I think by this point, unless you've been living under a rock, most people have a pretty good sense of what the accusation is. And the Cliff Notes version is essentially that the Pablo Torre podcast, he was able to hunt this down. Essentially, the allegation is that the Clippers, Steve Ballmer, through this other company, Aspiration, managed to get more money to Kawhi Leonard outside of the channels of the NBA and therefore not under the jurisdiction of the NBA salary cap, which is called cap circumvention, which is a big no and could be a huge problem for the Clippers if this is proven to be true. And there's a lot of context and a lot of details in there. But Keith, I'm assuming by this point you probably saw the Steve Ballmer interview from last night that was on ESPN. He of course he denied everything, denied any kind of knowledge of this situation and all of that. But I think where I wanted to ultimately start is what bothered me the most on that was the statement the Clippers put out when this all happened was this is provably incorrect, right? We provably false that we did any of this. And Steve Ballmer, the vast majority of that interview was just him saying, I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea. I was expecting like provably wrong. I was like thinking, okay, he's showing up with the receipts. He's showing up. He's going to have the documents here and he's going to say, look, this, and this. All he really said was like, we reached a deal with Kawhi first and Aspiration first, and then we introduced the two. So we didn't introduce the two until we had separate deals with both of them. Everything else was basically just, I don't know. I have no idea what Kawhi's deal looked like with them.
Yeah.
I have no idea why they would pay Kawhi all this money to not have to do any work. I don't know. That I was expecting a lot more evidence, proof, something when they were so strongly worded, provably false is what they said. I was disappointed in that.
Yeah, and it comes off to me as at worst, what you're admitting to is like gross incompetence and maybe negligence of not understanding what's happening with your organization. I understand CEOs at the highest level, which I get it, right? He's not the CEO, he's the owner, but like he is running the Clippers, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And not understanding them, what's happening with that. Like if it's like, I don't know which guy we're scouting in Eastern Europe, that's fine, right? Like that's the thing. But something to this level, like I don't know, man. This is like we're talking, a lot of tens of millions of dollars. Something there just feels very off. The whole thing just felt off to me from the beginning. And I think this is a great point by Jay, who's now in our good graces because he compared you to Jim and not Toby. He says if Kawhi would have promoted them, meaning aspiration, this company, would it be this bad? I don't think it would be as bad. I think it would still be bad because just $7 million a year for one single endorsement is crazy. Guys don't even get that in shoe contracts, which is basically the single biggest off-court money.
Well, that was the other thing that Ballmer said was, "Oh, I have no idea what players make for endorsements. I've heard they make more than their NBA contracts, but I really don't know." Like, dude, you're in this, but you own a team, and you really have no idea what players can make on endorsements like that. It just doesn't have the ring of truth.
Yeah, it just, to me, then what you're saying is like I'm completely disconnected from this world, right? And it's like, come on. So
he's what, the sixth richest person on the planet. So look, these guys, I like to pretend I'm a billionaire sometimes, but I'm not. It's a fantasy, right? But these guys have teams that run them, right? That teams of people, I mean, that do things, but that invest for them, that do all that, run their businesses and all those sorts of things. So is there that level of disconnection? I think sometimes there is, but as the owner of an NBA team, you should probably have an idea of what players can actually make in their investments and not, and rather than just fall back on, oh no, I have no idea. I have no clue, none whatsoever. Nope, no idea how any of that works. Like if you own a restaurant, you probably have an idea how your food gets cooked, right?
Yeah, right. And I'm far from the first person to make this point, but like Steve Ballmer giving $50 to this, or $50 million to this company is the same as me giving $50 to somebody, as an investment in them. Like that's what that feels like, right? Like I mean, we could spin off into all of these other things. Like you should never be able to give away $50 million and not even know or feel it. Like that's insane to me. I think it was Brian Windhorst who poured it out. Like that amount of money is like 5% of what he annually makes off of just the dividends from his Microsoft stock.
Good Lord.
So it's crazy. But that's like a whole other thing, and that's quite honestly not even what the point of our show.
It's a different topic.
To understand, like, how could he give away 50 million and not really know? Well, that's how, right? Like we've all done things where it's like, oh, I don't want to bring it back to The Office, but it's like, Michael gives so much money to Oscar's nephew because he doesn't really read what he's giving to the money for charity for.
Yep.
Right. Like we've all given money to a charity, and I'm not saying it's like a crazy amount where it's like, I don't know, but like, I don't know, I give $20 to a charity and then I kind of forgot I did it. And then later it's like, oh yeah, that's where that $20 went. Like it is what it is. So it's just a amount like he can't really get there. So I will also say this dude has been, meaning Steve Ballmer, has been so involved with the team, like down to the nitty gritty details of the arena that they built, where it was, I want to build a place where people are just going to focus on basketball, right? Like that's what I want. I'm not even building a place that's great for concerts, or like I want it to be like a cathedral for basketball. And here's all the things we're going to do. You can't tell me you don't have a better understanding than what he tried to portray there. So back to Jay's question though. Yeah, if Kawhi comes out and did a like, hey, I'm partner up with these guys and we're gonna make the earth a better place by going green and planting some trees and doing these other environmental initiatives, then at best you could probably be like, boy, they really overpaid like him for this.
Yeah.
But all right, if they have the money, I guess they can do that. So but the fact that like Tim McMahon is the one who keeps hammering this home, he did nothing. There was no press release saying we're partnering with Kawhi in his organization. There was no advertising done at all. No PR done. It did nothing. And that's where it gets really, really fishy, that all right, if it was like he got $10,000, I'd be like, all right. And quite frankly, if he did, no one would care. No one would have even noticed.
Even if they'd used his
20,
likeness and put him
yeah,
on billboards, look,
something,
Kawhi didn't
yeah.
have to actually do it.
Wait,
Like, just put him on billboards and stuff as part of a promotional game. Like, even
yeah,
that would be something. They
yeah.
didn't do anything.
$28 million, though, is like, that's crazy. So that's where I think now the NBA is going to be heavily involved in saying, all right, what is happening here? Like what, like diving in. So I also, as I got a little deeper into all this, and I was a little off on this too, when the NBA investigated Kawhi and the Clippers in the past, it was when Kawhi initially signed with the Clippers. He said, the NBA basically said, yeah, we investigated. If we go all the way back to 2019, remember the Clippers were at every Kawhi game, like right there in the front row, scouting him and all that stuff. And they basically said, yeah, that's what they want to do. They can do that. They didn't do anything wrong then. And to be fair, Pablo Torre's reporting has nothing to do with Kawhi's initial contract with the Clippers, as far as we know right now. This all came about after he signed his second contract. I've also seen a lot of people say he didn't sign it. He gave the Clippers a break on that second contract. He did not. He signed a 4-year max. He signed for the absolute max he was eligible to sign for. Him and Paul George signed matching 4-year contracts with a player option on year 4 that were for 35% of the cap. Kawhi couldn't go to 5 years because the Clippers only had his early bird rights. So they could only go as far as 4 years on that deal. So that's why PG wanted to align with Kawhi. And subsequently, the third contract, the one he's on now, that's the one where he gave like a break to them, where he did not take the full max. But that's also, you could argue, well, this is a dude who's in his mid-30s coming off a very long injury history. And we know the Clippers played hardball with Paul George, and we're like, if we're not going to give you everything you want there. So just to kind of clear up some of, I think, some of the misconception stuff that's out there with all that, like this is not how, like this did, no one is alleging this was all part of the plan from when they started recruiting
like
him.
This is why Kawhi signed with the Clippers over like the Raptors and the Lakers.
Now,
or whatever.
Did that incent him to do the second contract? That's part of what we're going to figure out, right? And anything where you pay, if it is found that the Clippers were involved at all in paying him outside of the salary cap, I don't care if he was on a max or gave him a break or whatever, they have to be, Adam Silver has to drop the hammer and punish them to, an extreme degree.
Yeah, for sure. And, watching that interview, I couldn't help but think, if after all of this, he spoke about, emotionally spoke about how angry he is about this situation and the trust he wants Clippers fans to have in him, and they've done everything right and all of his stuff. I thought, God, I hope that's the way this goes, because if not, if the NBA investigates and it turns out they were guilty of this, that they were circumventing the salary cap, and that all this stuff happened, that interview is going to look really bad with him talking about how much he wants everybody to trust him and trust the Clippers organization and all that. Now, Lenny asked, did you see the Cubans podcast with Torre? I have not had a chance to watch it.
I watched it.
I know his overarching point, and Mark Cuban's very much on the side of, he calls it Team Ballmer, but has been that essentially it funnels down to Steve Ballmer's not this dumb, that he got conned, but he's not dumb enough to do something like this, knowing what he would be risking by doing it.
Yeah. And I will say this, I think this company, this third party, company Aspiration, I don't know if that's their official company, but the people that were working with the Clippers and with Kawhi, I think, clearly shady, right? They completely went out and it like came to be a massive mess, right? And now there's all this legal fighting. Part of the reason some of this stuff came out is because it was like, wait, why is Kawhi Leonard such a big credit? Like he's one of the people they owe money to. Like, why is that the way it is? And that's part of what kind of opened all this up. It's funny, right? It's always something beyond the initial thing or the thing we care about that caused it to spill into what we care about.
Right.
So I think it is. I think they were scammers. I think they're bad people, and I think it's awful, and probably a lot of people got taken advantage of here. But that's a completely separate thing, and let that legal process play out the way it is. What we care about is, where did it go? And I get, Cuban saying, it sounds like these guys were super shady, but it still doesn't, even super shady guys don't give away $28 million for nothing. Like you said, they would at least want his likeness to put on marketing material, like something, or at least be able to be like, Kawhi's in with us. Like, you want to hop in too? Like, yeah, that's where it falls apart.
That's to me like when Ballmer's talking about like, oh, we introduced Kawhi to aspiration, and then we have no idea what happened from there. I don't know. I heard maybe they made a deal. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what they talked about. Well, we just introduced them. That was it. I don't know if I fully buy that. That to me, it stretches the ring of truth, in my opinion. Hopefully that is what actually happened, and that's what the NBA finds out. And the Clippers said, oh, no, we're going to do everything on the up and up. There was the little Uncle Dennis bit in the interview that I thought was kind of where like he was basically asked, hey, was he asking for this stuff? And he didn't say no. Ballmer didn't deny that.
And then there's been reporting that he told the Raptors, like, hey, give us ownership in the Maple Leafs.
Yeah,
because then it doesn't look like you're giving us ownership in the NBA team. And they were basically like, it's the same parent company. Like, it'll look just as bad. And they're like, we're not, like, we can't do that. So I just want to address one other quick thing here, because there's a lot of comments in the chat of like, why is X being so soft on this? Not X, the Twitter, but like person X, company X not covering this. Why are they not going after these guys? Part of it is part of it is protecting relationships, which that we can argue about and disagree on.
Sure.
If people want to, on whether that should or shouldn't happen. The other part of it is you have to be very careful. That's why people are very close to saying allegedly did this. It's alleged to have happened. This is, what could have happened and all those things, and not using very concrete examples because, much despite the contrary, we do hopefully still live in a place where it is innocent until proven guilty, even though it often feels like it's guilty until proven innocent. So that's why you're seeing some of this. But I think some people they've now gone too far towards like, there's no way they could have done this. Like, this is crazy that anybody.
I've seen a number of Clippers fans jumping to
defend fans are going to do whatever they're going to do.
Which is exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that. But look, ultimately, we don't know for sure what happened. Yeah. We don't know. Obviously, it doesn't look good. But as I say all the time, there's two sides to every story. That's why I was hoping to hear more from Steve Ballmer in the interview that he did. I'm really curious to see the arguments that Mark Cuban presented. And so I'll get into that later today. But when we get ultimately, Keith, the problem here, if we drill it all down, is there's an information vacuum. And it's the same reason why when the Luka trade to the Lakers thing happened, suddenly conspiracy theories started flying around. And the problem is there isn't an answer to the question why. Why would the Mavs trade Luka to the Lakers? People could not understand why that would happen. Therefore, we need to fill that information gap with something. Maybe it was all orchestrated by the NBA. This happened, that happened, all that. The ultimate question that we need answered is, if it wasn't salary cap circumvention, if everything was on the up and up, why would anyone, scammers or otherwise, pay someone $28 million? Was it really $48 million? Whatever that number is, insane amounts of money to do nothing. Why? What is the answer to that? And that vacuum right there is what's creating a lot of this, and a lot of people jumping to the conclusion that, oh, the Clippers must be guilty, Steve Ballmer must be guilty of doing that. That's all wrapped up in this. It's clearly this big plan they orchestrated and all of that. That's what we need an answer to. Why would this company give Kawhi Leonard so much money to contractually not have to do anything? That still does not make sense. And that's where you run into a problem.
Yeah, and it's tough, right? I mean, trust me, I would love to have full access to see things, even if it's after the fact, trade negotiations, and understand what was all the back and forth and where did we get to? How did we get to what was ultimately the agreed upon trade package and those things? The reality is the why we don't is because if it comes out like, man, wow, you really never did ask for, this player or an extra pick or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's wrong with you? Well, then they know the next team's going to come in and they're going to take advantage of them, in the same way. Sure. So that's why they don't make that stuff public. It's also to protect the players, because in those negotiations, you're going to have things where it's like, man, I'm not giving you a first round pick for this guy. Right. You can't play. Or whatever, or like, hey, we don't want him on our team anymore because he's a problem and all this other stuff. So it's, we're never going to get that kind of insider access fully on this stuff. And that's why anytime we do get it, it's very heavily edited and, gets there. But yeah, I think we're in a spot where it is, this is a huge, huge story. There. But I did flag a couple other questions related to this that we should probably get into. Jovian Morales says, I seen something where this Kawhi Leonard situation can affect SGA going back to the Clippers. Is that true? No. Absolutely. So. That transaction was done before any of this would have happened. At best or worst, depending on your point of view, you may see Kawhi's current contract voided, but they're not going to undo other transactions. That
would the NBA need to find? Like, would the NBA need to legit find an email, paperwork, something from the Clippers saying give this money to Kawhi? Is that what it's going to take? Because that may not exist.
And again, we talked about this the other day when this news came out. Part of this is going to depend on how much the other 29 owners want to go after Steve Ballmer. There have been some who have suggested, and some have even said they've talked to people who've said other owners are livid, and they're like, they're going to be out for blood. And then some have also said, and there's probably a handful that are like, I don't want them looking too deep in other.
We don't want to go down this rabbit hole,
right? Yeah. So like, it's we want to believe everybody's got altruistic motives for all this stuff, but rarely is that the case. So I think a lot of it's going to depend on how hard do they want to go after this. There is a board of governors meeting next week. Yeah. So we'll see, because this will presumably come up in some form, whether it's an official agenda item or it's something else, it will come up. The other thing we have to remember, there are some newer owners in there now that may not be like, hey, my allegiance isn't to here, it's to here or that. I will say this, prior to all this, Steve Ballmer has been a very well-liked owner in the league. He's been somebody who's brought a lot of energy into the league. You got a new arena built. That's a huge thing because now every other group can be like, hey, they built a whole second arena in Los Angeles, for this, a city that has two teams. Like, why can't you, who has one team, and if we leave, you have no teams, why can't you help us get an arena? Like, people like stuff like that. Now, it's also worth saying they didn't use much public money in that. It was mostly privately paid for. So that's a whole other, ball of wax there. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this that's going to depend on how hard do they want to push to try to get, punishment on this. But it's not going to go as far back as undoing the SGA trade and all that stuff. Because that would be, then you're, and then, well, we did this other trade because of that, and we did this because of this, and then you're gonna do the CP trade and everything else, and the whole league is basically shut down, and then it's like, well, we start the NBA over.
Let's redraft the entire league. We're gonna reboot and then
not
go
gonna
from
happen.
There. No, and this, Keith, this is, I think, the true. This is part of why I'm very much rooting for this all to be found that the Clippers did nothing wrong, because like Daniel says, Brunson took 113 million less last year. Just saying. Any player who takes less than the most they could possibly get now, this is going to come up. People are going to say, well, are they getting money on the side or what, Yeah.
And this is part of why Brunson got his dad a job, which is very unfair. Rick Brunson had been an NBA assistant coach for a number of years and had worked with Tibbs as well prior to that. So I don't think that's necessarily what happened. But yeah, there were people suggesting that at the time. What if it comes out that Rick Brunson is making more than any head coach in the league? Like, then where does that go? So that's the tough part on this. I mean, it is really, it's pretty messy, and there's going to be a lot of stuff. And it is, because we're talking about the Knicks. It is interesting to see where does this go, because very famously the Knicks have either abstained or voted like nay on every NBA issue recently, because the Knicks ownership is basically putting up a fight against the NBA about other unrelated stuff, and the way they do it is they protest everything else. So I'm very curious to see, what do they do in this situation? Do they
that sounds extremely petty.
How do they get, well, I mean, Charles Oakley can't go to Knicks games, and he's like a Knicks legend. So we'll leave it there with that. So it's I think it's kind of interesting to see where this not kind of with this situation, but it's going to be, where does all of this go? So,
all right, let's get into some of the other questions and comments that we've got coming in here. We'll get there right after this. Great presenting sponsor for the Front Office Show is Sleeper. If you've ever heard of the Sleeper app, here's a little secret. It's more than just a platform for season-long fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but the app offers so much more. Live stats, real-time updates, and visualizations on all stats, plus a news feed. This is so critical for me. Get lightning-fast updates on your favorite players and teams, a real-time chat you can engage with other users about individual plays and performances during the NFL and NBA season. So download the #1 sports app today and experience it for yourself. If you can see, I've made a couple of season-long picks there. Some deep cuts. We've got Tyler Warren for the Indianapolis Colts. NFL season is here. I've got him more than 550.5 receiving yards. I think he's going to be a big part of that offense. And then Zach Charbonnet, essentially, I'm saying I don't think that Ken Walker is going to wind up staying healthy all season. I've got him more than 499.5 rushing yards. I think the opportunities will be there for Charbonnet. So click that link in the description down below. Use the promo code CAPSPACE, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right, Keith, let's get back into some of our questions and comments here. D-Rock said, fire Sean Marks. Huge error forcing Cam Thomas into that qualifying offer. Stars will refuse to play with these drafted scrubs. Only Aaron Peterson, hire Bob Myers. He's not happy about the Cam Thomas. And I think
apparently not happy about the Nets draft class either.
In general, I guess. Yeah, not to, what is it? Five first-round picks?
5 first rounders. I'm kind of
I'm curious to see how
high on
works.
3 out of the 5. We'll see what happens with the other 2.
When we talk about that qualifying offer for Cam Thomas, like, it's not great when you feel like, oh man, now we're going to lose this player and get no return, right? Because that's now, and that's the Warriors' decision with Jonathan Kuminga. That's the Quentin Grimes situation. If these guys pick up the qualifying offer, the chances of you losing the player and getting nothing back for them go way up, say from, whatever cap flexibility you might have because the player's off your books, because they could sign outright with anybody else in free agency and the player has a no trade clause over the course of the season. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that let's say the Nets find a trade for Cam Thomas mid-season. Cam Thomas can say, okay, I'm good with that, and get traded. Like, it doesn't mean for sure the player cannot be traded. It just means the player has to give permission in order to be traded. That said, in this case specifically, I don't think you want Cam Thomas based on current value. I think you would rather not have Cam Thomas than have him on your books at 30 plus million for, let's say it was going to be a 4-year, $135 million deal. I think you're better off with him if you're the Nets, having him take the qualifying offer than giving him that contract based on what Cam Thomas is and what the value is around the NBA right now. I think you would have been regretting that deal ultimately. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Cam Thomas proves me wrong. I hope he has a great season. I hope he proves that he's more than just a scorer. But based on the way the NBA sees him right now, I think it's not a great situation either way from the Nets perspective. But signing him to a what I think would be well above market value contract, it would not be a positive result either.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's clearly the Nets had a number they were willing to go to for Cam Thomas, and that was not the number Cam Thomas wanted. So he did what he had to do here, right? He's betting on himself. Worrisome part for Cam Thomas here with this approach is if the Nets have already said you're not really part of our future, is he going to get a lot of minutes? Is he going to get a lot of shots? Is he going to be a big part of it? Because let's be realistic. The Nets didn't trade to reacquire draft picks to go out and win games right now. I mean, the reality is they drafted 5 guys. They're super young. They're going to lose a bunch of games. And I just don't know that it's going to be in a place to say, let's run Cam Thomas a whole bunch of minutes and go crazy with this and give him all the shots he wants and all these things. The other thing is just you got Michael Porter Jr., who's kind of in the same boat, but under contract for another year. And you'd maybe like to build up value and get him traded with that. So I think we're in a place with Cam Thomas where there's a lot of risk here. But from the Nets side, yeah, if this is, and I went back and forth with some people, it was more based on Josh Giddey, where it's like, you got to see both sides of this, right? The players should not always have to be the one who gives in. Like that's very team focused approach. But I have no problem with teams saying we are going to set a line and that's it. Like we're not going above this. And if this is where we are, we're not going to do it. And then I think for the Nets, it was we don't know that Cam Thomas at this number is going to be positive value or going to help us be a better team than where we are sooner than we're really ready to get there. We're around this young group. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work to be done there in Brooklyn, and Cam Thomas is, I think it's pretty clear now, not going to be a part of it. I'll go on record right now, even with losing his bird rights, I think Cam Thomas is going to get traded before the end of before the trade deadline. I think he will get traded somewhere else.
And
someone
he'll
else
waive
will get
the no trade?
Yeah, and it'll be some team that has the ability to sign him without his bird rights to a bigger contract that sees value in, all right, we want Cam Thomas. He's what we need on our team. Cam Thomas is a good player. He's one of the most gifted scorers in the league.
I like Cam Thomas.
Yeah, I do too. He really, really improved as a playmaker and passer, as well. So it really is a spot where, man, I don't, I think it's gone a little too far that, Cam Thomas, I mean, it almost reminds me of our early show days where we talked about Colin Sexton a lot. It was like Colin Sexton got tagged with this guy's completely empty, stats. Like there's no value here. And I think there is value, but I don't think it's 30 million or more value per season.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. And this would completely flip if the word was Cam Thomas wanted 20 million and the Nets wouldn't budge over the mid-level exception. Then it would be the Nets are being cheap. Why would they do this? Is dumb. Why would they not just get this finished and try to find a middle ground or whatever? But if you're the Nets and you're like, hey, we're looking at a 2-year deal at MLE money, maybe a 1-year deal at about 10 million, a little bit less than that, and then Cam Thomas says, I want closer to 40. If you're the Nets, you're not bumping at 20 at that, but it's not going to do anything. You're so far apart. You just throw your hands up, go, well, there's nothing we can do.
And that's the reality here. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Shams reporting had actual offer details in there, and they were nowhere close to what he wanted, like nowhere close. And I get it. People are like, yeah, but he could have made, I think one of the offers was like 19 million on a 1-year deal or something. And he took 6. But on the $6 million deal, he has control. Right now, he has that no trade clause. He'll be unrestricted next year. He didn't want to lock in anything that gave the Nets control and didn't pay him what he thought he was worth. So we're in a spot where this is where we are with this. I don't know that it's a huge error. Like that, I'm gonna disagree with. And when the Nets are ready to win again, if they have the right young players and they have cap space, this isn't going to hurt them on getting guys. Guys will still come. I think D-Rock, though, my guy, you got to sign up for. This is going to be a couple bad seasons coming up here. You're not going to be a good team for at least a couple years. And I think that's kind of some of the issue here is I think you're hoping to be better than maybe what your team's going to be. And I'd be locked in for this being a rebuild. And in that, you just then enjoy the young players and enjoy watching them get better game to game.
Yeah, exactly. And just know that there's a long-term plan here. Trust the process. And that's what we're talking about here. Trust the process. Let's go. Where do we want to go to? We got that. If it's affecting SGA. No, I guess we got all the ones that we started through here. All right, let's get into some of the live questions. I'm seeing a lot more people still debating the Kawhi situation.
Yeah, I mean we could probably walk away and come back 3 hours later and it'd still be going back and forth. I don't know. Maybe I underestimate how much people like our chairs and looking at them.
I mean, a lot of the conversation though is should Kawhi get punished in this as well if it's proven to be guilty? I mean, I think his contract could get voided. That's part of the potential, punishment here.
Yeah, and I'll pull this one. If this is possible, the cap is a joke. Well, it's always been possible. It's just a matter of, do you get caught and get punished?
Right.
I am by no means naive enough to think Kawhi is the first person this has ever been tried with. Like, I'm sure this has happened before and just nothing came of it. Different situation with the Joe Smith thing, because I was putting in agreement of we're gonna sign we're gonna sign contracts to build up to bird rights, and then you will sign us to this contract. And oddly enough, that all came out because there was a legal fight between Joe Smith's agency. Guys were going different ways, and a bunch of crap came out, and then a whole bunch of people got in trouble on that, including the Wolves and Joe Smith, and a bunch of stuff came down with that. But that is like, it happened, and the reality is they got punished because they get caught. The other reality is Kevin McHale, at the time when the punishment was handed down, said, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but like, yeah, everybody does it. They're just better at it than we are. We just got caught. Like, it wasn't, he didn't even try to like pretend like this isn't something that happens. So it's that's like a real thing. So that's where I think you got to be very kind of cautious with this stuff of like suggesting like, well, it's only the Clippers. And I get it, right? Everybody wants to believe like my team would never do this, right? We're so above board with everything. The reality is everybody does shady stuff. It's the level of shadiness and did you get caught?
And that's, a competitive, it's a competitive environment. For example, like, our team's supposed to talk to free agents before free agency begins. No, if you don't do it, you are way behind. You are at a competitive disadvantage if you are not talking to free agents before, whether that's through back channels or whatever. And they know it's happening. Is it against the rules? Yes, but everybody's doing it because you kind of have to, right? So there's that element to it. Have other teams tried stuff and probably gotten away with it? Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you just turn a blind eye to it here, particularly if it's been revealed and all of this. In part because if you do turn a blind eye to it, if it turns out that and once again, my hope is that it turns out the Clippers did not do anything wrong and everything was on the up and up and all of that. And this was all these scammers and it was all their fault and everything was their that's the way I hope this goes. But if it does turn out that there was some impropriety here from the part of the Clippers, like we talk about dropping the hammer on them, you don't want an NBA where Steve Ballmer, the richest owner in sports, has a path to funnel money to players outside of the CBA.
It's over.
Right? You're done, right? That he's going to get you'll get, because next thing you know, if we suddenly open that floodgate, okay, Giannis signs with the Clippers for a minimum because he's getting an extra $100 million a year through the side, and Steve Ballmer would never even feel it. I mean, like,
and they can hide it well enough that it's not like, how'd you get Giannis? I do want to address this. David from Twitter says, what did Kawhi do wrong? If it comes out that he took money outside of the salary cap, that's wrong. Like, that's wrong. He knows that's wrong. His representatives know that's wrong. He's not, I'm not going to say as guilty as the Clippers, but there should be punishment on the player side too, because you willingly engaged in something you knew was wrong, right? That's like, I mean, that's, I only drove the getaway car. Like, okay, but you did. Like, you did something that was wrong. Like, did he commit a crime? I mean, that's, I don't want to go way down that path because I don't know. But like, yeah, I mean, if you willingly said, all right, yeah, you'll give me money this way, and you knew it, Like, come on, man, that's wrong. Like, it wasn't like Ricky Rowe and a tractor showed up in front of his house, and it was like, that's a Blue Chips reference for anybody who doesn't get it. But like, it's like, come on now, or like they gave Neon Bedeau a car, and he's like, what's this for? You know. So.
I mean, if somebody gives me a contract that says if I'm gonna pay you $50 and it's gonna be to promote this, but you don't actually have to promote it,
yeah,
am I signing that contract? Probably. Give me my $50. I'll take it. But in the context of the NBA, that said, though, I mean, like I said, Ballmer didn't exactly deny the idea that Uncle Dennis was asking for stuff that was way beyond the scope of what an NBA team can provide in terms of compensation. And if that's kind of the mindset, then maybe he would look at that and go, hey, this is just the way it is. This is, professional athletes. We get stuff thrown at us, and it's totally okay, and we'll take advantage of that.
Yeah, well, in like this one from I'm not going to say the name because that's gross. Don't big markets like Los Angeles have an advantage in regards to marketing players? Hell, Dalton Connect is in commercials. Yeah, 100%. Like that's just a known thing. Guys who play in New York, LA, Chicago, the big markets, like, yeah, they get the opportunity to make legitimate off-court endorsements. I mean, you watch League Pass, half the commercials are a dude, talking about like, come down to, Smith Toyota and, like, get me a new Toyota. It's like, you're not driving a Toyota Camry. Nothing wrong with it. I would drive one, but like, I know you're not as an, multi-million-dollar NBA player, but okay, like you're there endorsing them. But those are all like, that's part of it. That's not even like that. But that's not what happened here. Like he got $28 million to do nothing. Yeah, right.
He load managed his endorsements.
Did you listen to the Hoop Collective about this?
I did not.
So good, worth listening to. There's some people are taking umbrage with parts of it. Let people decide. The one part I really, really agree with is if you go back to Kawhi signing with the Clippers, this whole thing is not worked out. Like all the way back to from the beginning. Like they've paid him a lot of money to not get the return on. I think they have 3 playoff series wins in his time with the Clippers. And we're not talking like he's been there for 4 years now. Like he's been there a while. So like it is like that has not worked out. You gave up, you basically gave up kind of the foundation for Oklahoma City.
You gave up the MVP
franchise. Yeah, you gave up the MVP.
Jalen Williams is part of that more.
Yeah, exactly. Like it is like, yeah, this has not worked out at all. There at all. Like it's been, what a really kind of a disaster of a signing. I get like helped them get the arena built and help build the arena, and it did take the Clippers to like slightly different place as a franchise. But boy, it's been not. If you talk about jumping in the time machine, I bet they'd go back and like, yeah, let's go a different direction, knowing where this was going to go, and that's outside of this.
And that's just sports, right? I mean, hindsight's 2020. Yeah. The only thing you can do is make the best decision with the information at hand. And for the Clippers, part of that decision was, if we don't do this, if we don't go get Kawhi right now, then he's a Laker. And then we have to deal with that. And we're competing against this team in this city. Like there was a lot to this. I think if they had to go back to that point, they would make the same decision. If they knew the way it would turn out, of course, it'd be different. But the decision-making process being right or wrong isn't dependent upon the ultimate result. I don't think they made a poor decision. It just didn't work out in terms of what they were hoping for here and what they got out of Kawhi Leonard. The injuries, the lack of success. I mean, they blew a 3-1 series lead in the bubble. Like it was, a mess. It just has not worked. Now they've got an aging team. I do like that they've got the ability to pivot this team in a couple of years when we talk about their cap sheet. And I thought they had a really strong summer. I think they've largely made some good moves. It just hasn't paid off for them the way they wanted it to. And now they're going to be dealing with all this. I hope this gets resolved sooner rather than later so that we don't wind up. Otherwise, I mean, Clippers Media Day gets very interesting, right?
Yeah.
If this is not resolved by then. So
big time.
God, this is a mess, Keith. This is a mess.
Yeah,
mess.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no other way around it. People are, this is a good. Whoops, wrong one. This is a good one. This is from David Ben Simmons considering retirement. Like, yeah. And
Yeah.
there must be something to it because Bernie Lee, who was his agent, filed to no longer be his agent of record. So that's I think he might be done. I think that might be it, which is regardless of how you feel about Ben Simmons now, if you go back to the first 3 years he played with the Sixers, he was awesome. He was, by every metric, the most versatile defender in the NBA. Krishna Narsu put this together at the time that was going on. He was the only player in the league who defended all 5 positions basically an equal amount of time and defended all 5 positions equally well. Just think about that. He defended point guards and centers at an elite level and everybody in between. Like that's just crazy, right? We don't have things like that. So that's part one there with him. And then I think the second part is, I mean, it just like people would say they didn't want to play and all that stuff. I think the back stuff was legitimate. You don't undergo that multiple surgeries just because you don't want to play. And I really feel like it's a spot with Simmons where it's like this sucks that his career went the way it went. Like it just isn't great. So that kind of is what it is. With that one, I just wanted to touch on that since somebody threw that.
And maybe he just says, you know what, I don't want to be the 15th guy on a roster, which is realistically probably what he's looking at right now, and that's fine. That's fine.
I think it's there. Somebody referenced what the CBA lays out for the penalties. Those are not the be all end all penalties for cap circumvention. That is like there are also in all the there's the bylaws where they can come down on the team harder and all this stuff. That's more of this is what you can do and what can happen. But there are good of the game clauses written in every agreement that they could lean on where this isn't good of the game. With that, somebody said something and I went back to try to find it. I can't find it about like, why is Lucas still playing in Eurobasket? He's risking getting injured.
Playing in Eurobasket.
Like a lot of guys are playing. And here's the thing. If you're a Lakers fan, get used to it. Luka has already said every single summer he's healthy enough, he will play for the national team. Like he's
playing great.
Yeah, he's playing great. He looks really good. I get it. Total, like as a complete NBA snob that wants the season to start with full rosters of all healthy players, like it's like, there's risk there, but I mean, you better get used to it. It's not gonna go away, right? Like he's going to play.
Yeah, and that's obviously the lens we're going to look at it through is through the NBA. Like I'm not worried about Slovenia winning or losing games. I'm worried about my number one goal when I've been doing the play-by-play for the games. The number one focus of every game is did Luka get hurt or not? And that's it. The final score, what he produces, all of that, that's all very much secondary from our lens to is he healthy? Because training camp is too close. We're weeks away from training camp. After that, it becomes, did he play well? Did he do this? Did he do that? How did he look? All that. Then we get to, did they win? Right? Yeah. And that obviously is not the way that Luka is going to look at it. It's not the way fans of Slovenia are going to look at, or any other player that's playing for their country, Giannis and all these guys. I also think that looking at the Eurobasket situation and saying like, oh, this is only a negative for teams is also not correct. There is a positive here in that these guys that are playing are getting into game shape. They're getting into rhythm. They're getting these reps here. Now that maybe allow them to show up in camp already in rhythm and all of it. Like there are some positives to this too, because people look at it, this is only negative. That's not true. We also can't say that the risk is zero if they aren't playing in Eurobasket. Jaren Jackson Jr. already got hurt the day after signing an extension. Yeah, basically
in a private workout.
Private workout. Like that can happen too. So it's not like not playing there completely eliminates risk. Does it increase risk given how hard they're playing? Probably. I think I can get on board with that. But it's not that you completely
on the flip side though, they're there with medical staffs and trainers, and the Lakers have had people there too the entire time. Like it's there. I will say with with all of this, because there's some comments in the chat. One, this is Eurobasket. EuroLeague is a completely different thing. And yes, Eurobasket matters. Like people like, do they even really care? One, if they didn't care, they wouldn't be playing. And two, yeah, they care. They care a whole lot. Like it matters a whole lot. If you ask Luka right now what the proudest moment of his his basketball playing career is, I think he would say leading Slovenia to the Eurobasket title, a few years back. Like that was huge for them to win that. It's a small country that went out and won Eurobasket. Like those are massive things that are very important to these guys. And you can't say that and then in the same vein be like, why don't guys want to play for Team USA? Like, why can't we get guys committed? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, it works the same way. We don't, I get it. I'm an ugly American. I said it during the Olympics. I wanted Team USA to destroy everybody and lay waste to every team they played. I want that. But yeah, I mean, just watch these games if you have the opportunity. These guys care. They care so much. Like it's there, but yeah.
For sure. For sure.
All right, man, we're over an hour in.
We are. We're in overtime here. So let's wrap things up there. Our schedule next week may be a little bit
weird.
Sporadic. We do have a Eastern Conference Tiers show that's going to be coming out. But we thank you guys.
There will be no front office Friday. I can say that. Trevor's on vacation. I am having a medical procedure done. But I will do a live show at some point during the week. It might maybe in the evening. We may do something like I don't know. I kind of jokingly told Trevor we should find out how many like true front office devotees we have by going live
during the
first
NFL
game last night. and clearly I was joking because I knew it wouldn't have been many. But yeah, we should kind of. I'll find a day to go live, but we'll get you some content next week on the channel for sure.
If I have the capability to do so, I will go live from the beach. My wife will hate me, but I will find a way to do it.
It's cool. We got a guest room for you, buddy, when you're divorced.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining the show. Till next time. See ya and stay safe.